Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me. My name is Andrew Alvarez, and I am the Latino conservative. This is my very first time ever going live. And I just kind of wanted to see how this went. See if I can at least get a few people on here every now and then to kind of meet me, talk to me, let me know what's up. First thing I wanted to do was to talk about Twitter. So Twitter is doing this thing where everybody knows the story with Twitter. They're banning people, they're banning posts, they're doing a lot of stuff to basically what I feel is infringing on people's First Amendment rights, which is freedom of speech. They are doing this using guidelines given under Section 230. Now, what Section 230 is, it's a piece of internet legislation in the United States that was passed into law as part of the Communications Decency Act in 1996, formerly codified as Section 230 of the Communications Act of 1934 at 47 USC. It gives a bunch of codings after that. So basically, the gist of it is saying that media companies, social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, and it started out as the message boards. I don't know if any of y'all are old enough to remember the big message boards that used to go on that people would join on, had common interests, Honda parts or Honda cars, sports cars or whatnot, fishing groups. They had message boards out there that were specific to groups. Every now and then, a person, a spammer most of the times, would post something that was questionable, air quotes, questionable, something that was inappropriate, maybe even illegal or spam. Bullying happened on those groups every now and then as well. So internet companies sought out the help of the legislators, as they should. Something like this would be great for them to come up and start making that change that I've talked about so much. So they asked for help. They got their help. They got what's called Section 230. Now, what that says, there's a little clause in there that says if there's anything objectionable, they could remove it and they wouldn't be held liable to any damage that happened because of what somebody else posted. You see, the web platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, even right here, they aren't the creators of this content. People like me are creators of content. Even spammers are creators of the content. So they can't be held liable for what they create. Obviously, I totally agree with that. Here, what they've been doing recently is taking that Section 230. There is a clause in there that says they can remove anything that is objective. Objective is subjective. You can't just go in and say, I'm going to remove this and have no drawback, no penalties over that. Kind of defeats the purpose of free speech, right? If I post something that isn't illegal, that isn't questionable, I should be able to express my opinion and keep it out there, right? And Twitter, Facebook, all these big social media groups, in fact, I'm hoping I don't even get this taken down, but they are taking it upon themselves to take anything that they want and mark it as objectionable. For example, Twitter has started labeling over 300,000 election-related posts as disputed or misleading. And you've seen Facebook, they'll put that card up there over the post that says this information is incorrect. I know everyone has seen that. This is false, misleading information. They will even put that on something that is legit questionable. I know whenever I'm scrolling through my feed, I don't want to necessarily have blood and guts all over the place all the time because I might have it up in front of my kids. I don't want them to see that. But they're putting that same card on everything that is big air quotes, objectionable. Again, it's defeating that First Amendment right. So let me read from this story here. This is from Newsmax. Before we do that, just let you know where I'm at. I am in Iowa, and I see one person on so far, but I'm going to keep going. But I am in Iowa, and what I found is a glass bottle of Coke. My goodness, this stuff is awesome. The only thing it needs right now, my fellow Latinos will know this, put some peanuts in there. It's great. My goodness, if you haven't had peanuts in your Coke, you're not living, especially in the glass bottle. Coke tastes better in a glass bottle. But back to the story. Twitter has labeled approximately 300,000 posts containing election-related content as disputed and potentially misleading, as part of its widespread effort to clamp down on misinformation. The tech giant has also continued to label President Donald Trump's claim on Twitter as disputed, and in some tweets includes links to learn how voting by mail is safe and secure. These enforcement actions remain part of our continued strategy to add context and limit the spread of misleading information about election process around the world on Twitter. And basically, Twitter is, again, they're being the media, big air quote. They're social media. And the media nowadays, it's not mainstream media anymore. I think it should be called legacy media because they're not the media anymore. They are opinions. They're editorial. And if that's the market they want, great. I'm all for that. Go hit it up. But don't count yourself as being a news. Ooh, I got a like. Yay. Hey, speaking of, while you're here, if you're watching this, please do me a favor. There's a little button down there somewhere, depending on where you're watching this. It's called the subscribe button. If you hit the subscribe button and sign up for alerts, that's the best thing you can do to help support me on doing this. I do this just in my spare time. I travel the country for work. Like this right now, I'm in Iowa. Next week, I will be in California. This is what I do in my spare time. Just show me some love. Show me that you like this. Even share it. There's a couple on right now. If you want to go share that, I would love that. I would appreciate that. So let's go back to this Twitter spot right here. Twitter, as a result, said there was a 29% decrease in quote tweets of those labeled tweets due in part of the prompt that warned people prior to sharing. So now they're even prompting people when they share it, hey, this might be an objectionable post. They also said, we also got ahead of potential misleading information by showing everyone on Twitter in the US a series of pre-bunked prompts. Gad and Bjorke, however you say that name, wrote, these prompts, which were seen 389 million times, appeared in people's home timelines and in search, and reminded people that election results were likely to be delayed and that voting by mail is safe and legitimate. I can understand how it's safe. Legitimate is my question. How legitimate can it be? In fact, since we're right smack dab still in the middle of elections, let's pull up some more news. So Pennsylvania, actually, their court said the Secretary of State lacked authority to change the deadline 2 days before Election Day. A Pennsylvania judge ruled in favor of the Trump campaign Thursday, ordering that the state may not count ballots where the voters need to provide proof of identification and failed to do so by November the 9th. So the Secretary of State in Pennsylvania took it upon herself to make a last-minute change to their voting process to extend the time that was allowed for voters to confirm their identity. They're supposed to do it by the 9th, and they extended it to the 12th. There's a little bit, that's part of the little shenanigans that people like Donald Trump and other people say could be the result or could be a sign of voter fraud. Why would you need to do that? Why would you need to extend that time? Now, here's the thing. Here's my point, my really big point on mail-in ballots. In Houston, I saw people dropping off their mail-in ballots at a ballot box on election day. Mail-in ballots are technically supposed to be when you can't make it to the polls. Also, in in Alvin, where I was, we voted electronically. And by that, I mean we each had our own separate booth. They gave us a stylus that was disposable, so only we touched it. They gave us a little piece of paper that had our voter registration or a little number that we had. We went in with that stylus, put in our number. Our ballot came up. Tap, 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 all the way down the line, and we were done like that. There was no dispute when our election results came through. We knew they were quick. And I'm pretty sure most, if not all of Texas voted that same way, except with these mail-in ballots. People delayed to the last second to put in a mail-in ballot, and they did so even by going and dropping it in a box. They went to a box at the polling location to drop in their ballot when they could have very well, walked up to that polling location and put their own vote in there. Why didn't they do that? I have no idea why they didn't do that, and it just blows my mind. Also, if you request a mail-in ballot, there is a time frame. It's a pretty decent time frame, at least a couple weeks, where you can drop that mail-in ballot at, guess what? Any guesses? At the mailbox. You can put that mail-in ballot at the box weeks prior to the election day. So why are we waiting still to get these election results in? You should have done that before. That's the same concept as Florida. In Florida, in the last 20 minutes before the deadline for voter registration to be done online, they had an influx of traffic and it killed the servers. Now, anyone in the tech industry knows that an influx of traffic will kill a server, no matter how good that server is. Look at the Obamacare website. They spent, what, $2 million to build a website with just a couple fields in it, and it crashed. That was supposed to be a nationwide project. They were supposed to have the infrastructure on that to make that a successful project. Am I right? So the same thing on this voter registration in Florida. The last 20 minutes, people did their last minute effort to try to register to vote online. It killed the server. The claim? Voter suppression. Heard that multiple times. Voter suppression. Our voter registration is being suppressed. Blah 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 blah. Voter registration is good for a couple of years. Some places it's good for 4 years. Ooh, I've got 5 people now. Nice. But why in the world would you wait to 20 minutes before the deadline to register to vote when you had 2 years at least to register to vote? That is pure laziness. I work for a company right now that is great at setting deadlines. And us as a team, if our deadline is set for 2 weeks later, guess what I'm doing today? I'm getting that deadline done today because 2 weeks later, no, I'm going to have a lot of people, and our managers are great about this too. They're great about prompting us, hey, get this done, so you don't have to wait till the last minute and something happens. Because Darwin's law, something happens. But it's not voter suppression. It's not. And I've talked about that before. And I've had that debate with people. How are you going to go and have a 2-year span of time to register to vote and then complain that it's voter suppression at the last second? Hey, what's going on, Tim? Thanks for joining me. How's things up there in San Antonio? Tim, I was just listening to one of the sales managers here that I'm at right now talking about Charles Barkley and what he said about San Antonio. I'm gonna let you look that one up. But so you people are delaying their times. Same thing with the mail-in ballots. They waited to the last second to get these through. Sorry about that. And now we're in this big conundrum. What's going on with this? Pennsylvania, they extended their time. They extended their time a lot. Election day was what, November the 3rd? Now they set a rule saying that any mail-in ballots can have the time to be received 3 days later. They can receive them up to 3 days and still count. Should have been on the 6th. The voters had until the 9th to confirm their identity. It's the 12th. They're still counting and letting people confirm their identity afterwards. It's not right. In fact, the judge said that. Let's read some more on this. The court concludes that, I'm sorry, let me scroll back down. The court concludes that the respondent, Catherine Brookvar, in her official capacity as Secretary of the Commonwealth, lacked statutory authority to issue the November 1st, 2020 guidance to respondents, basically saying she thought she was a manager, but she wasn't. It happens. I understand. I've done that too. But in a position like that, when you're over the state, you have to know your role. Cue rock music. You got to know your role, what you're doing. If you're in a position of power that high, you have to know the law. And I can only say this again. I can only compare to Texas because that's where I'm from. But in Texas, if you take public office, anything like county commissioner, county judge, anything other than that, that's an elected official, you have to take classes, legal classes. It's just something the state requires. Look how many problems we have. Not much when it comes to stuff like that. You don't see Texas as being a scandal state. You don't. Also in news, Dr. Falchi. I have mixed feelings about him, but he's saying COVID-19 won't be a pandemic for a lot longer, thanks to rapid progress in vaccines development. Basically, he's saying it's not going to be a problem much longer, but we're having a spike. So it's either going to be a problem or it's not. I find it a little ironic how we were declining in COVID cases and COVID deaths. And I'll do big air quotes on that, COVID deaths. He died because of COVID or due to COVID, whichever you want to look at it. I've seen people reach out to me personally that have said, I tested positive for COVID, but I never took a result, never took a test. Those still question, I still question those. I question all of that data. Do I question the lethality and the danger of it? No, I don't, not at all. It's not what I'm saying. I am saying that I question the data. There's stories of a man in Florida who passed away in a motorcycle wreck. It was labeled as a COVID death because he had it. Hospitals got paid more money, and we're talking to the tune of $30,000 more per death that they had that was labeled to COVID, even if it wasn't the actual cause. So I really, really question that data that they're giving there. Now, Dr. Falchi is saying the pandemic won't be a pandemic for much longer. I also heard him say today on the news that he really requests and he wants to see federal mask mandates. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. It's kind of ironic how all of this is happening as we get into the holiday season, which is supposed to be the time when the presidency is supposed to transfer. No matter who wins, and really truly at this point in time, I don't care who wins. I just want it to end. But this is happening as there's supposed to be a transfer of power during the holiday season as well, when we're supposed to get together as a family. Most of the country will take that time and they're more spiritual. They'll worship their God, or the God, I should say. but we are being almost threatened with another lockdown. Even though Dr. Falchi says he does not want a lockdown, it's almost going that way. You've got analysts from media sources like CNN and MSNBC that are talking about wanting a lockdown. That's going to kill our economy, guys. We're going to turn literally into China. People think China's great. China is awesome. They've got a great GDP. They got our GDP. They got our money. Literally. I'm not going to get into the whole Joe Biden, Hunter Biden thing, but they've got our money. They also have what is essentially the Liberal Party, the Socialist Party, which is the party of the rich and the poor. There's no middle ground there. No middle ground there. So you've got your rich elite people, then you've got your people that are working in the sweatshops, that are making your Nikes, that are making clothes, soccer balls, everything that says made in China. They're working on those. But he wants to have a federal mask mandate. It's not going to happen. In fact, it cannot happen. If somebody tries to put an executive order, whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden, they can't do that. Because there's this thing called the 10th Amendment, which not a lot of people heard about, but the media was definitely, absolutely not talking about this at all. What the 10th Amendment basically in a nutshell says, anything not listed in the Constitution that isn't illegal is given to the power of the states to control. Pandemic planning isn't listed in the Constitution at all. So all of these states who are judging Donald Trump for what he did or didn't do to help quell the pandemic, it was them that messed up. They are supposed to do that. Donald Trump tried to go out there. He tried to offer assistance. They denied it. They declined. During the riots, he offered assistance. Some accepted, most didn't. Seattle didn't accept when it came to the federal building. When the rioters were starting to attack the federal building, he stepped in. That's federal property. Belongs to Donald Trump, essentially. Not technically, but you get the point. So he took care of that. Everything else is under the states and the city's jurisdiction. Governor Gavin Newsom, California, is also putting out strict restrictions on how we're supposed to celebrate our Thanksgiving and our Christmas. He wants us to wear masks in our own home. We got to social distance in our own home. We're only allowed to meet for 2 hours. And these are the people that keep getting voted and voted and voted on and on and on each and every election time. Beats me. How do people still keep doing that? And it's one of those things where I know I'm going to be in California. I'm going to have to bite my tongue a lot because I do have some strong opinions. You know this. Everybody knows this that talks to me. I do have some strong opinions, but I do have good judgment, and I like what I do for a living. And this doesn't pay yet. This doesn't pay me $125 a year, so I'm not going to do it. Last topic I want to talk about. ByteDance challenges Trump's TikTok divestiture order. ByteDance, the Chinese parent company of video sharing app TikTok, filed a petition late on Tuesday with a U.S. appeals court challenging a Trump administration order set to take effect Thursday, requiring it to divest TikTok. That was a scandal again. Donald Trump was trying to ban TikTok. People were saying because he didn't like what they were doing to his campaign. Now, TikTok is a Chinese-owned company, and it's more than just what they are doing to the campaign. It's more what are they doing to our data. Now, I'm going to admit, I like TikTok. I'm on it almost every day. Look up TX Latino Conservative if you want to go follow me on TikTok. But our security is, our data is being shipped over to TikTok, to China. And the reason why we know this is because if you're a Chinese person, Chinese national, I should say, not just a Chinese American. I'm not going to get into all of that stuff, but I'm saying people who are still loyal to the Chinese government, you're still a citizen there, you live there, you're held accountable to that government. Basically, you got to do what they say, or you're going to lose points on their social credit system that they have. You might lose your house. I mean, heck, they're tearing down churches over there. And again, this is nothing at all against Chinese people in general. I just don't like the way they run the government there. I don't want our government to turn into that government. Our data could be going out there. And really and truly, our data on Facebook, on Twitter, Parler, Rumble, everything that you're on is subject to that. If you go read through your disclosures, the ones that everybody says accept at the bottom, and they don't really read them, they just scroll real fast, read them. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in those disclosures. You really will be surprised. And that is saying that they can use your data basically how they see fit. They'll secure it, keep it secured until they sell it. And it's just not just TikTok, it's everybody. So be careful what you put out there. Be careful what you do with, how much you give them, how much data you give them. Do you mind having your stuff out there public? If not, great, do it. I have nothing against that. All of my stuff is pretty much open right now. But if you want to keep your information secured, maybe create a fake email address. Just something, create a Google Voice number that doesn't really tie to you, just something so you can have some data in there and still be able to enjoy those platforms. So guys, my time is just about up. I've almost run out of stuff to talk about. In fact, I have. And I appreciate it. I got up to 5 people on my video. This is my first one. I'm going to try to do these every Thursday night at 8 o'clock in the time zone that I'm in. Next week, I'll be in California, so that's Pacific time. It's 8 o'clock Central, or 8:30 right now, Central time right now. So the next time it might not be till 10 Central time. So if you want to hang out with me, 10 o'clock Central time, please, I would love it. My name is Andrew Alvarez, guys. Thank you again for all who joined you. Y'all have a great day.